can't go anywhere without spending less than £6 like on a pint now.
In 2010, the average cost of a pint was £2.81.
When was that?
Take me back to 2010.
Time machine? That's
That's dreadful.
Yeah.
So bad.
I remember going to Brighton, moving to Brighton, and thinking, oh my God, pints are £3.10. That's so expensive. How am I going to afford to live here?
In Pembrokeshire, how much would a pint set you back, do you think?
A pint? Probably about £7 now, £7-8.
Jesus Christ.
Honestly, yeah. Probably about £7-8. Which is why the pubs are dying. People are just going to Tesco and buying crates of beer and drinking at home.
Do you guys know what the average house deposit in the UK is at the moment?
30, 40k? Pretty sure it's something like 80 grand, isn't it? 85?
It's 53k.
Wow.
53?
Yeah.
But I don't know a single individual in my life who would have a £53,000 deposit.
In 2010, it was £28,770.
It's painful.
Christ, almost double.
In 2010, the average rent for a room in London was about £536. Now it's £995.
One room?
Yeah. Can you remember how much you were paying in rent or etc. in 2005 in Brighton?
In rent, I was sharing, so I was with other people, and it was 300 and something, 300, 400, something like that.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Do you think you could get a room like that now for that money?
I doubt it. What is it now? Do you know?
In Brighton, not necessarily in London, is about, which I think is similar prices, is about £995 for a room.
Oh, yeah, that's insane.
There's not really much potential here for young people. I mean, I'm 28 and it's looking difficult to buy a house over here, you know, and most of my friends that have brought with a partner. So, yeah, I think it's time to get out, to be honest.
Especially as a recent graduate, when I feel like everything's gone up, but the wages haven't gone up. So it's kind of like you're a bit stuck, really. Yeah.
It's difficult to earn that, save that kind of money and just have it sitting in a bank somewhere without someone giving you support, say family members. It's very difficult to get on the property market, into the property market.
So you're having savings.
Yeah, and
it's
I mean,
difficult.
Even just imagine like buying it on your own as well. Like, you know, that's why relationships have just one more benefit.
That's why I'm with him. And I'm joking.
In 2010, there are 2.34 million people on the NHS waiting list. Now we're up to about 6.29 million.
Triple.
Yeah. That's handling.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
When you hear things like that, how does that make you feel?
Basically just don't want to have to use the NHS for any reason, because if I get into that position, then I don't want to just be sat in pain for, you know, years potentially waiting for treatment. So
make me want to move back to Europe, because that's where I came from. I'm here for 11 years and I always thought I moved to a better country, better education, better healthcare system. Now I'm actually flying home sometimes.
God.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, because that kind of like really closely aligns with this kind of time period that we're talking about. So you've lived here for about 11 years, did you say?
11 years, yeah.
How would you describe the country then and the country now?
I was moving to a better country when it comes to everything, and to a better and very multicultural city, and now I'm living in a very expensive city where I hope I don't break a leg because an ambulance is not going to come. And for dentists and everything, I fly back home with the cost associated with the flights and everything, simply because it still works out cheaper. So I'm a bit devastated because I love this country and I really, really want to be here, but I guess I can. With my passport, I can still go back home and, you know, use their NHS. So I'm abusing the system, but I have no other choice.
I genuinely have been waiting over a year for something that affects my life daily.
Jesus.
So, but that's just normal. And it's kind of just like, and then you're like, oh, and then you hear on the radio, it's like, go private. And then it's like, but why?
It feels like that's the main reason, that the waiting lists kind of push you to go private, and that's kind of what they want.
Yeah,
maybe they justify it.
Another figure for you. This is maybe the most upsetting thing. In 2010 to 2011, there were 3.6 million children living in poverty. There's now 4.3 million children living in poverty.
I mean, I have 2 kids myself. That's heartbreaking. That's really heartbreaking. But it's easy to see why. And I think even for myself, so in my family, I'm the sole breadwinner. I've got a wife, 2 kids, and their needs are ever increasing as they get older. But even just putting food on the table and paying for simple things, not even living a lavish lifestyle is so difficult because everything costs so much. Even I've done exercises where I've tracked how much we used to spend on shopping a few years ago to now, and even in the last 3 years, our shopping bill has probably doubled. It's so much more. Now, some of that might be the kids are growing up, I guess, but equally, just simple things, everything's just gone up, the price of it. Petrol's another one.
I'm among the unlucky one who has 2 small kids, and so my wife had the tough choice to choose to go back to work or and pay the expensive nursery or stay home. So we chose for my wife to stay at home. So we're on one source of income, and everything all the prices went up. We're lucky that our landlords didn't put the rent up in the last 7 years.
Wow.
If not, I don't think we could afford to live in London.
We're in London now. We're not from London, but I can only imagine that's awful to try and be a single mum in this place. Just living costs and raising a family is expensive anyway. So, yeah, it's not great.
There's been a clear change in terms of prices, in terms of these waiting lists and the number of children living in poverty, roughly over the past 14 years. What would you describe that to?
I mean, it's easy to just say government, because that's what, then you're placing blame on a particular group of people and you're not having to worry about it yourself. But I don't know. I think it comes down to a lot of different issues. I think that places are getting overpopulated, not in terms of there's not enough land, but there's not enough services for the amount of people in the cities anymore. And there's no money being put into expanding those services. Every single time there is a PMQ, Prime Minister's Questions, it is always about budget cuts and never about putting more money into places. So, as much as it's a bit of a lazy answer, I really do think that it's government. It is government. They are, we're taking money away from stuff like healthcare, social services, to fund things like the military. And I understand that the military is important, but I think it is more important to look after children and people in need. And yeah, I mean, I wish I had a solution. We all do, but I don't have one.
I just think the gap between the middle class and the elites is just getting bigger and bigger. And because of that, people at the bottom are suffering. But things like the pandemic and COVID and stuff like that has been used to increase the profitability of the biggest corporations, while the common man has suffered, independent retail has suffered. It's just, and I think that's contributed to what we see today.
You see it in every corner of the UK. Anywhere you go, it doesn't matter whether it's Glasgow, Pembrokeshire, London, you're seeing it absolutely everywhere. So, I mean, I don't have a solution. That's why I'm not in government. I'm not an MP. But I do think something needs to change. I don't know what that is. I don't know how we would go about it, but there definitely needs to be some sort of change because people are struggling. Luxuries aren't even a luxury anymore.